Scene 119, exterior rail line night. The train continues its lights inside and out, aglow in the darkness. Suddenly the lights go out. Inside the train, in the darkness, there's some mild panic. Then the train itself begins to rise. Mild panic turns to screams. Then we go to 121. The train is 10 feet off the tracks through the moonlight. We see its momentum cause it to tilt, still speeding forward off the ground. So it means we gotta get a train in the air.
We're taking things that really do exist and we're just digitally manipulating them to allow the viewer to believe that there is something there.
We haven't seen that in a feature film before.
I don't know anything about gravity or stuff like that. So maybe it could happen.
The train sequence is actually a very good example of the blending of all the components that we use nowadays in filmmaking. The end result of our train sequence is that we wanted to have a high-speed train in Germany with some of our actors in it that becomes a victim of no gravity, flies up in the air, flies through the air, and then later in our story crashes through a grove of trees into the ground and lays there in a twisted, fiery heap. That's what the script called for, right? So how the heck are you going to do that?
It was storyboarded a long time ago. Mike did the storyboarding in Vancouver at the very, very beginning of prep, and then there was a lot of continuation of them. And it helped a lot. It helped knowing, particularly in choosing the locations for the crash site. Well, we'll start searching for that field now that it doesn't have tracks, because locations have been looking for something with tracks, right? And that really limits.
Tus trailers. Visita mi canal.
You know you need a train, so you look through you Google trains. That's what I did. I went train on Google, and a bunch of trains show up, and I went, well, that looks like a neat looking train. So they went, oh, cool. So you see if you can get that real train as far as using their logos. So they just take pictures of those kinds of trains. They get, we had some people in Germany take some digital shots of trains there, and they use these elements to create their own train. They just build it in the computer, and then we've discussed what it needs to do, what its action is.
We don't have all the storyboards here today, but for the beginning part, if we have a wheel that comes off the track, then we'll cut wide to the train lifting off the ground and going past camera.
So will your 3D model be detailed enough to get the wheel, or will we have to get a real wheel to do that practical?
I think we could have enough detail as long as we take those reference photos from Germany about these real trains.
We went through our process of, this is the end result. We want this. What can we afford? What can we do in our schedule? And how do we combine everything? So we knocked our heads together and we came up with the concept of we're going to need a set piece for the actors to sit in.
The construction department builds the interior train. The set decoration department had to find these seats. The producers had excellent help in Germany and their staff there, who did a lot of the research for us because they were far better at it than we could ever be from here. We had draftspeople drawing up this train for about 3 days. Our playback people went out and shot background plates in Vancouver of terrain that somewhat mimicked the look of the countryside in Germany, which are going to be projected behind the windows so that when we have a side angle on our actress in the train, there's blurring motion to indicate the high speed of the train while it's still on the tracks.
So we got the actors in the set piece, and outside of our set piece, that's where Gordy Verhal, our director of photography, comes into play, because he brings all the lights and effects, and our special effects add their component of sparks and explosions and breaking glass and these kinds of things.
Mike wanted to see the actors start to float up out of their seats. So we had to work out with special effects how we get them to do that separation from their seats as they go up. Rob Pallard, our special effects man, our physical effects man. And what he came up with was, initially we talked about teeter-totters, where we'd have a pivot point off camera, and the actor would literally be on a teeter-totter and we could control it that way. We have to remove walls to do that. So instead he went to a air bladder system that just rises them up, and then at some point they can physically enhance it with their own bodies. But they're being lifted up by air.
Okay, so normal, light, starting to feel it, starting to set up, we'll cut. Then we'll just put the cushions under, tighten up the lens a little bit on B so we don't see the cushions. And then just overlap that thing again. Okay.
120 echo take 1 and become the marker.
And feel something in your bodies, like what the heck, and lightning! Left! Spark! And go! And then it's capped off with our CGI guys that do all the stuff outside of the train, which is a virtual 3D train going along the tracks and flying up in the air.
The train shot's a pretty dynamic shot. The train rises up off the track and then it barrels through a kind of basically a forest into an open field and plows into the open field. And of course all of that is going to be computer graphics. What we will do is a German unit's going to go out and shoot some plate shots where they'll actually just shoot an empty track in a German landscape. And then we'll get the camera information, the lens and the tilt and stuff like that. What we do there is we model the train, in exact detail, and we create a grayscale model which we then use to animate before we texture it and put a skin on it, make it look, photorealistic.
I mean, all of this, we did a streaking texture that goes over the whole thing, like damage texture. We also did one for this, which we never used because, well, we did use it, but it's in a
Yeah. And the little people, that worked so well.
Yeah.
You know? Absolutely. So well. I love that.
And so when again you blend these components together, you got your CGI train, and you go inside the train, and the actors are acting, and the lights are flashing, and the train outside lifts up CGI-wise, and you cut inside the train, and we simply get our actors to kind of lift themselves up on little whoopee cushion kind of airlifter, lift your bum off the seat kind of things. It's a combination of A plus B equals C.
Hey, it's Morris.
Hi,
Morris.
Hey, Jonas.
Good morning. Hi, guys.
All right, well then our first up are just some of the JPEG stills of the Paris street color concept. Just to sort of chat about this and lock it down because we're ready to sort of do the set extension and start tracking all of this in.
We talk about color tone too as well?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Not sure what you guys think over there, but I'm liking the more cool color because I think it's a little meaner looking as far as what's going to be happening to the moon.
And what happens here is that we're in Paris and we've established a nighttime scene, and what we're going to do tonight is there is a surge of magnetic energy, and suddenly everybody starts to fly up in the air and stuff. Cars and people and glacis and croissant and all that. What we're going to do here is we're going to actually create the shot by shooting practical elements, so I call them layers. So we're going to have layers where we're going to actually have real people, and we're going to have real cars, and we're going to have real streets. But then what I'll do is I'll break that down, and I'll do what's called set extension. So I'll extend the buildings and make them look as if they're actually Parisian buildings, and I'll remove things like the tree behind us, and I'll be able to put the Eiffel Tower in the background, and it'll look like Paris.
So you put the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, Eiffel Tower.
The moon or the moon on that side of it?
Well, we have to choose.
Yeah, but we're going to fly people tonight. We're going to fly all kinds of things
But
tonight.
that must be in tight, medium, whatever, tight, medium.
What, just wire removal.
Just wire removal. And then so we'll need the same people.
So we got the wide.
With the same, and we'll continue to take photographs. And all that.
Yeah, and all the people are asked back.
Ashley.
So the This car will be like up here.
This is all going on.
So float over here. Like
and the Vespers and the people and the
people.
Everything.
Okay.
Which is why everything is going out now.
Right.
3, 2, 1, go!
And it's going to be anti-gravity. Well, we're going to try.
Y tus trailers, visita mi canal.
Excuse me, back your legs, the back seat. Like,
whoa! Whoa! Hey! This is cool.
That kind of thing, right? Rat eating along the seats.